my guest is Holly Bertoncini. How are you, Holly?
Good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing great. What do you do?
So I'm the Community Programs Manager for Telerik, which means I do the user group sponsorships and the nonprofit events, as well as the Insiders Program and the Telerik MVPs.
That's a lot.
Yes.
Before we talk about your job, let's tell people what Telerik does.
Sure. So we were originally kind of more known in the .NET field just as a component vendor, but now we're branching out across all platforms. We have our new product Kendo UI for HTML5, jQuery. We have a testing solution, Agile. So we have a lot of products now.
And most of our focus around helping developers be more productive.
Exactly.
Right. That's basically the mission, I think.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And you talked about user group sponsorship. You talked about the Insiders Program. You talked about a lot of things. Let's go through them one at a time. These
Sure.
programs that you're
Sure.
involved
So the user groups, as I'm sure you all know, sometimes you guys need money for a pizza and you want some swag. So
I've asked you for that before.
Yes.
You've come through. Thanks.
So I just sync up with the leaders and kind of find out what they need, what we have they can give, ship them out some swag, some licenses, just kind of keep in contact with them throughout the year.
Uh-huh.
Then for the events, like your Codepalooza, DevLink, Code Camps, Give Camps, they reach out as well. Sometimes they're just looking for swag, or sometimes they need, help paying for the food for the event. So then we try to help them out as well.
You sponsored my Detroit Day of Azure last year.
Yes.
That's a great thing you do for the community there. I think people keeping developers fed during these meetings
Yes, exactly.
is really nice, and then also having something to give away at the meetings as well.
Right, it's always nice to get a prize.
What about the other programs? The Insiders Program, I happen to be a part of that, as
Sure,
you know.
yeah.
But tell people about
So
that.
I guess the Insiders Program has been around for maybe about 3 years now. It kind of started to kind of help speakers. We got requests that there weren't enough funding going out there, so we thought, what can we do to help to get people to user groups? Mm-hmm. So then my colleague Emily kind of created the Insiders Program. So basically, you tell us where you want to go, and we see, okay, do we want to help you get there? And, you'd mentioned Telerik, we'd sponsor you. Sometimes, maybe if it was applicable, you bring up our controls, or you give out some of our swag or licenses. And then, it also helps us because it helps, we can go to areas that we're not always in.
Okay, that helps fill a gap, I think, because I'm also a part of INETA, and INETA used to have a big budget for sending speakers around, and that program has changed. It still exists,
right?
But there's not as much money to go around.
Right.
It really helps that people like yourselves are contributing to that as well,
exactly.
I think.
Yeah. And then for the Telerik MVPs, they're kind of more online based. They're helping out in our forums. They're helping other clients answer questions. They're writing blog posts. They're a lot on Twitter, maybe directing clients to certain places. So really, they're just kind of our online presence, and they help us. They're helping answering questions. We send them swag and licenses. So it's kind of like a mutually beneficial partnership.
Okay, so those are the more shy ones.
Exactly. Yeah, they're just the
helping out
computer
the
side. Yeah.
Forums, whereas I'm the loud one. And what's your role in the MVPs and the Insiders?
So for the MVP, I would be in charge of recruiting new ones. Sometimes the product teams will reach out to me and say, "Hey, this guy's really active. Do you think he'd be interested in the program?" So just kind of explaining the guidelines, getting them signed up, and then as well as maintaining. Because if you're a Telerik MVP, you need to get a certain amount of tokens every 6 months to maintain your status.
How does one get a token?
You would get a token by answering a blog post. Then I would give you 2 tokens. So basically, then I go through our system and allocate the tokens to the appropriate people. To kind of make sure that they can maintain their MVP status throughout the year.
So it sounds like there's just basically a formula. MVP, deciding who's the MVP is relatively simple. You get tokens, so many tokens for answering a blog post. At the end of the year, you add up the tokens, and if you have X number, then you're in. Is that the idea?
So you have to get in. You have to get in first. So one of the product teams, or I have to say, I think you'd be a great MVP. Do you want to come on board? And then once they're on board, that's when they start earning the tokens.
Oh, I see.
To keep continually, year after year, keeping that status.
Okay. And what about the Insiders? How do people get into that?
Sure. So the Insiders, we just kind of hear with the community. We have our evangelists out in the field. They kind of say, well, this guy's really good. This girl's really good. Do we have room in the program? This is the area they might be covering. So it depends on factors. How many Insiders do we have actively right now? Mm-hmm. What
how
are the
recommendations?
I honestly don't even know. I think we have about 12 Insiders active right now. And then based on that, we see what areas are we looking for people, where do you want to travel?
Areas, I mean,
yeah, sure, because if we have everyone in Ohio, that's hard for, we need someone in California. So we definitely look at geographic, where you're traveling and what events you're going to as well.
Oh, okay. All right, so everything you talked about, both the MVPs and the insiders, is that you're finding them, or people inside of Telerik are finding them. Imagine there's some people watching this that say, boy, I'd really like to be an MVP, or I'd really like to be an insider. Is
Sure.
that something that they could do to
Yeah, it
accomplish
happens
themselves?
a lot with the Telerik MVPs. We actually have an application on Telerik.com. If you just Google Telerik MVPs, you can apply. So basically, you would just kind of list the work that you've done involving Telerik. Link up your blog posts, maybe your Stack Overflow if you've answered a lot of questions there. So then you can apply through that right online. For the insiders, you could always email communityteam@telerik.com if you want to, kind of just put your name out there, tell us that you're interested, so then we can kind of review it from there.
Okay, and the benefits of these are both similar. You get some free licenses, you get some
Yeah,
free
exactly.
swag to give away,
Yeah.
and then you get some, for the insiders, you get some reimbursement on your travel.
Exactly, and for the Telerik MVPs, that sometimes that title helps because if they go in places, people know that they know a lot about Telerik, so
Okay.
that's beneficial to them as well.
Okay. You've just in the last year or so, you've sort of come up with a new term, influencers.
Yes.
Grouping the MVPs and the insiders, and this year even the partners.
Yes. Yep.
Let me get out here. Is that why this new designation?
Well, we just thought, why, if we have these two influencer programs, the MVP and the insiders, why just keep them completely separate? It didn't really make that much sense where there's kind of shared knowledge to gain
Yeah.
from each other, and a lot of times we're sending out the same information for both of you, so why not just loop you guys together? And although you serve different needs, if you want to hear what's new, you both want to hear what's new with Telerik. So then we're just going to group you together and be able to get that out to both of you at once.
Okay. Can you talk about what we're doing here in Boston this week?
Sure. So this week is the Telerik Influencer Summit. We actually have insiders, MVPs, some of our service partners, as well as a few enterprise clients. We're just kind of here talking about Telerik. You guys are learning the latest and greatest, and we're trying to get real feedback on what you guys want to see so that we can try to incorporate that into future releases and what our roadmaps are.
Okay. I'm enjoying it so far.
Great.
We're more than halfway through it.
Yes.
And we're going on a duck ride tomorrow.
Yes,
whatever
the
that
duck
is.
tour. Yes. We'll see historic Boston.
Do you have an online presence?
Sure, yeah. So I'm on Twitter at Tellerini. It's kind of a play on Telerik in my last name. That's where it came from. And then I can always be reached Holly at Telerik.com as well.
Holly, thanks so much.
All right, thanks, David. We're here with our Telerik friends in Boston this weekend talking about technology.